There we go. So the recording has started. My name is Wanda Miller. I'm the Assistant Director of the John Germain Memorial Library in Sag Harbor. Today we're going to do a local spotlight interview with Nada Berry. We've been doing these interviews to kind of get a sense of what this moment feels like for our community from different people who have different roles within the community. So Nada Berry is going to join us, and she is the owner of the Wharf shop. The questionnaire will actually repeat a couple of questions based on who Nada is and stuff, and that's primarily for our archive because this will go into our oral histories. And from that, we'll also do a kind of a transcript that will record all of the information that we gather from here. So I'm going to start the interview off with the first question. What is your name?
Well, my name's Nada Berry.
Great. Thank you, Nada, for joining us today. If you were willing, what year were you born?
I was born in 1930.
How long have you lived
Know
in
how old that makes me?
Oh,
Okay, I'm 89. My birthday has not come up quite yet.
it's a milestone. It's amazing.
Yeah.
How long have you been in Sag Harbor?
Well, I was here first at part-time in 1947, and I've been here full-time since 1962.
And what kind of work do you do here?
Well, I co-own the Wharf shop in Sag Harbor with my daughter, Gwen Waddington. It's on the main street of Sag Harbor, and it's a toy and gift shop. And it was founded 52 years ago. And the kind of work I do is, first of all, I'm basically in charge of all the finances and the financial person for the shop. And this entails paying all the bills, doing all the payroll, filing every month all the government reports, which have to go in. They're the payroll reports, they're sales tax reports. And then I go twice a year to the gift show in New York City, which has always been held at the Javits. This takes us 3 days, and it's a place that we're looking for what merchandise we're going to sell probably this coming year. And once a year, we go to the International Toy Fair, which is also at the Javits Center. It takes us 3 days also to do these fairs. There's so many products out there for us to pick up and decide upon. Of course, whether and this will happen in the future, I have no idea, as the Javits Center has been used as a hospital, as you all know, for the city through this pandemic. I also do all the mail, which look at that every day, gives me an idea of what's going on, what invoices that we have to pay, and anything else. Then I am only in the shop usually, or have been, late in the mornings, but I'm in 6 to 7 days a week. And I'm there pretty much usually over part of the lunch hour so that I can cover the staff during the lunchtime. And that's what I've predominantly been doing in the past. Oh, one other thing is when we have salespeople come in, I sometimes come and back up come and take a look at what they're offering us, particularly if it's something new. I do that a bit of the time also. I think it generally covers. I can say that the Wharf shop, in case somebody doesn't know or in for the future archives, is we sell specialty toys and gifts and many other things, from greeting cards to infant clothes. The items are unique for Sag Harbor itself, and I could go on and on. We have so many items, thousands within the shop itself.
Yeah, I remember going there with my grandmother when I was little for dollhouse furniture.
Yes, that's one of our specialties and has been for almost all of our years, 52 years. We started that long time ago. And
Yeah.
there aren't that many shops like that anymore at all. We still make up some of the models so that they're there ready to sell. Actually, Dee Dee O'Connell, who's been with us almost 50 years, primarily does that. I want to give a shout out to Dee Dee. She's our manager in the shop.
How has COVID-19 changed your job or the business and what you do there?
Well, let's start with the very beginning. Before we had the lockdown, the staff already moved away that play table in the back, which has always been such a draw for people. And they started wearing masks and gloves and asking people to stay apart to a great degree, and for the children to put their hands in their pockets when they came in. Well, when the lockdown actually came and we closed the door, I had been following that the government was considering giving a small businesses, which we definitely were, a loan. So I was watching that very carefully and closely. We were, and as soon as we could get an application off the internet, we printed that out, took a look at it, and it didn't come with any information of what really was required. It was very poorly drawn up. Luckily, in Sag Harbor, we belong to one of the local banks, B&B, and Terry Fordham, who couldn't have been more helpful. She's the manager, extremely patient with us. And we finally figured out that we needed to put in all of our last year's 2019 reports of the payroll, the 941s. We had to give other business information also. And this took, from the time it was so uncertain what we needed initially, still took us 3 days. Luckily, we got the papers in and the bank accepted our application, where we were very joyous about that. But then we had to wait another number of days to be sent papers in which we had to sign that we were accepting this loan. And the loan itself was rather confusing because it entailed our having to put in all our number of employees that we were applying for. And of course, out here, we are not on a consistent basis because of the type of businesses we have. We're very busy in the summer, and then again at Christmas we are, and so we vary tremendously in the number of people we employ in the shop. So this took us quite some figuring out of now, what do you apply for? Because it was a very exact formula that had to be used. Well, of course, we were accepted finally when I worked that out. And we then waited for them, and they sent back the papers and we signed them. And then we waited probably almost another week, I think it was, before the money actually got into the bank. And this money is only for 8 weeks, and it can only cover 25% of, it has to cover 75% minimum of what you're paying your employees, and 25% can be used for paying your utilities and rent. Interestingly, as a side note, I would say that people who've gone on unemployment, what I understand, receiving an additional $600 on top of their employment check, at least some people. This made some of the people who were on unemployment, it was better for them to stay on that than to work, because retail is not a well-paying job. It's just something that I feel should be made a record of at this time. When the door also was closed, the first thing that we did was Gwen got an answering machine. We didn't have an answering machine on our telephones, and this was essential because we figured out that the only way we were going to do any business was to have people call in and ask what they would like to have and to leave their phone numbers and their email addresses if they phoned in, or they should email us. Some people did directly, and with what their needs were. And Gwen has been marvelous because she has been contacting back these people, discussing with them on the phone, mailing pictures back and forth of the products we have in the shop, and then getting them ready for them for pickup in front of the shop or behind the shop. And she's also been doing some delivery locally in Sag Harbor, Noyak, and Shelter Island. And this has been fabulous. In addition, she put the trolley by the glass, by the doors with items on it, and predominantly to start puzzles. Before the lockdown came, when people all moved out here, there was a frenzy of buying to stock up their houses with toys and games and puzzles to carry them through, or at least who knows for how long. But there was this enormous frenzy going on. For me, what's happened, I've been able to do a certain amount of work from home, but I've been going into the shop only one day a week when absolutely no one is there, to work at and use that computer there, to do the payroll, pay the bills. They still come in, even though the door is shut, all of them. It's endless. And I also, when I'm home, it seems I'm in constant touch with Gwen, who is down in the shop from 12 to 5 daily, except for Sundays. And we are back and forth texting, emailing, and on the phone discussing things, which obviously when I had been coming into the shop before was taking place while I was right in the shop, and we were surveying and making decisions and so on. I think that pretty well covers the situation as to what's happened with the pandemic.
Yeah, it has. Have you ever experienced anything like this before?
Well, interestingly, there are some slight parallels. In 1939, I was born in England, and I was in England, and we were fitted with gas masks at that time. So there I was with a mask as a child being fitted, and here we are back with masks. And then during World War II, I was in America as a young teenager. And at that point, we had rationing of meat and oils and butter. We had gas rationing going on. And we had to have blackout curtains. And they even had wardens on different streets and blocks to check that none of our windows showed light whatsoever. So this was being monitored locally. And then we also, when I was at school, we had to get under our desks because of potential air raid, in case there was an air raid. But the thing that was the most relevant to this is people have come out here to shelter in different places. And my English cousin was sent over to live with us during the war. And she was like my sister for a number of years during the war, which was wonderful for both of us, actually, at that point. And there's one other thing that parallels in my mind a little bit this pandemic is that I lived for 2 years in a Caribbean island where absolutely nothing was brought in the way of, nothing was there in the way of food. Everything was brought in. And so you missed certain items. You couldn't have everything you actually always wanted. And I can tell you, I tried making English muffins and it was a failure. And also we had to then open, just for information, an egg into a bowl or something before we ever used it, because there were certain often eggs that were spoiled, and the stench of them is unbelievable, a sulfur-like smell. So, you know, now when you can't find everything, there have been times in some of our lives when we didn't have absolutely everything we wanted when we wanted it. I would say they're not exact parallels, but a bit made me remember them, this pandemic.
It's fascinating. Thank you for sharing those. How has this all changed you personally?
Oh, difficult one. Certainly, it's made me more introspective, without a doubt. It's made me more observant. I was thinking about this in so many ways. Definitely of nature to a great, great degree. And to parallel that, the dust in my house. But where, I think those are basically the things that it's changed me. I don't think I've changed. Oh, well, I shouldn't say that. Wait, there's one big, big thing I was about to forget. And that's I've had to accept help. I'm used to being very independent, as many people in the community know. And and I'm lucky, I have a lot of family around, having them bring in groceries and do things for me has been something really, really different and interesting.
Yeah, I bet that's different. Are there other routines for you that are different? Am I repeating myself?
That,
That's an,
one of my routines that are different, that is, first of all, I'm not going to the shop every day. And I'm not attending meetings. I'm not going to the cinema. We're not out doing things. I'm doing a lot more gardening, which I love, planting more vegetables again. And I'm doing cleaning again, thoroughly. And I would say I've always cooked, and I'm probably doing more cooking and a little bit more baking than I have in quite a while. There's one other thing, is that I've been spoiled by having a swimming pool, and I usually open it May 15th and swim till about September 15th. Well, when the lockdown came, I had them open the pool. So I've been swimming since April, early April on. I swim before breakfast every morning. Keeps me going.
that sounds great.
Love it. Find it necessary, per se. I miss it when it's bad weather, raining hard and so on. So that's basically, I would say on the whole, my routine is very, very similar to what it's always been. I get up and I get dressed properly and go through the things that I do every day. Making the bed, having your breakfast, working on different projects, but it's not that different on the whole. I maybe spend a little more time on Facebook, I hate to admit it, and a little more time on the internet or watching television, let's put it that way. And attending an occasional Zoom meeting, which is completely something new, which I'm learning. So there's something good that's come out of this, perhaps, expanding one's abilities or whatever. I think that's pretty much it, Wanda.
Okay. What do you think things will look like for yourself and or your business in the future?
You want to say that again for me?
What do you think things will look like for yourself and or for your business in the future?
In the future. First of all, there are a lot of big questions there. We'll definitely be coming into the shop, people, with masks on And by the way, before the lockdown, my staff also put on masks and gloves when they had people spread out. Um, we'll probably have sanitizing. We've even ordered some already, some sanitizer. We'll be limiting the number of people in the shop. We'll be asking again the children to keep their hands in their pockets if they come in, not touching everything. We won't have the play table, which makes me very sad because over the years we've had adults come back in showing their children, I used to play here and how much I loved it. We've had that table, I don't know, back there, our little play area, it could be even 30 years, anyhow, for a very long time. And it's been an attraction. It's something personally I love because I'm interested in the development of children and get a chance to watch them there. We've been discussing this, Gwen, Dee Dee, and I, a little bit, or there's been banding around some conversation. There's a possibility that maybe the small items, there are so many we have, will be packaged more. I envision very much that we might will continue with our concierge service, in which people can phone in and ask for what they'd like, and we'd have it ready for them to pick up or even possibly deliver. I think that's going to have to become a staple of our business, possibly. None of this is for certain. It's just where my mind's going, and Gwen's and so on. It's how I'm personally seeing the possibilities. Whether, I think we'll have less employees, which means we won't give as much service, because whether and how we can financially manage this without going bankrupt, I don't know. It's going to be a very, very tough situation for us. And of course, it all depends tremendously on whether people get off the internet, buying on the internet only, and come back. I envision less people will be just wandering around in town. We won't have the tourists, people coming out as easily for the day trippers, or as people visiting as many out here. Well, I don't know about that visiting, but people wandering around where they just come into the shop. I foresee that more people will be coming in with a specific need. That. And by the way, I should mention that right now, people maybe should know that I do believe the fire department, if you have a birthday and you call the fire department, they'll bring a fire truck around for children. I don't know how much advertising that's been, but I did hear that at a village board meeting at a point. So since we do balloons and deliver things for children's birthdays, or Gwen has been in the last month, I thought I'd just throw that out to anybody listening to pass the word on.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it does.
Are there any things that you think would help with the recovery?
Yes, I think one major thing I just mentioned is people not always buying on the internet, but realizing that we're there, or will only be there if they come and buy from us, the community. It's a difficult thing. We have no idea what's going to happen, Wanda. We can pray, but it's scary. There is no question. For those of us in small businesses, it's extremely financially, it's very, very threatening. That's what I can say.
Is there anything else about this experience that you'd like to share?
Yes, there is actually. First of all, my brother passed away at the very beginning of this, not of the COVID-19. He was older, and that has been extremely difficult for the family, for some of them more than others. Interestingly, he did spend quite a bit of his time out here, particularly sailing, and he wants his ashes spread here. Who knows when that's ever going to happen? That's been really, really tough. I'd also like to tell everybody that I have a granddaughter who's an emergency room doctor in Pennsylvania. And so she's been very much on our minds without any question. And I would say one further thing that just occurred today, and that is that the cousin who was sent over to live with me during World War II, who no longer is with us, but had a great grandson born today. And also one other thing that I didn't say of how things have changed for me personally. One, I always traveled a tremendous amount. And on this actual day, May 5th, I was supposed to be in England with my contemporary cousins, having a lunch date. So I obviously am not there. I'm with you all here.
That's our good fortune that you're here, but I'm sorry that you missed that.
Well, yes, but let's face it, Wanda, I've had a very satisfying, very good long life. So I can't complain at all. I must mention that. I've been very lucky in many ways, without a question.
I'm sorry for the loss of your brother too.
Sweet of you.
Can the Lord provide?
Sorry. No, I just said he was older. It wasn't totally unexpected, but the timing of it couldn't have been worse. And I will just mention something because it's relative. My sister-in-law, my brother's wife, lives in a retirement community where they are in total lockdown. Absolutely. And so I do try and call her, or I do absolutely every day, and tell her a bit about Sag Harbor and what's going on here. She is not connected to the internet and has no idea, of the things other than what she gets through television. It is so hard on these older people who are not connected to the internet in any form. It's so limiting for their lives.
That might connect a little to my next question. Can the library help in any way? And I don't know if there's a way that we haven't thought of to try to connect to people who don't have internet.
Oh, yeah. Other than phone calls, there really isn't a way for the library to reach out to these people.
Okay.
And that isn't, you're quickly thinking, I don't know what the answer is, Wanda. I'm sure if anything, you people might figure out something. You can't call on people. You can't, how do you reach them verbally other than with a phone call? Is there the book you'd like me to send to you, deliver to you? And that would be my answer for people in Sag Harbor, particularly, if you know of any.
Thank you. Have there been any silver linings for you or anything that's inspired you during these times?
Well, I would say there's one silver lining. When they stopped the construction around and less cars, it was like the eye of a hurricane in my neighborhood. Absolutely, the quietness has been phenomenal. And the birds, you can hear them singing more. It's just totally amazing. There's no question about that element. Whether there's other silver linings, maybe for me personally, it's just a process of teaching me to say, yes, you can help me. Let's put it that way. I'm learning from being here stuck in the house predominantly. But I've got to say, I am so fortunate as a person to not be in that little apartment in a retirement home, but to be here where I have a garden and space around me. We are, some of us, very, very lucky. And the other thing that's really been good about this, when I think about it, is we're a village that's very neighborly, helpful to people. But I've had more contact with my neighbors while I've been home here, that people, keeping our distance, but I've had much more contact than I have in all the years I've been here, that people are being much more friendly within their neighborhoods and around, that we're all in this together. A certain togetherness has come out, I think. That's been a good positiveness. And less pollution, I'm sure, as we've all heard on the television and everywhere, worldwide, while we're stuck at home, less traffic, cars, less factories going, the pollution element has been greatly enhanced, and climate change is such a vital element that this is helping for a short time. I hope it could continue in some way, but that's been another element.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anything else you would like to share?
I would like to say one thing about the library. You have been such a wonderful staple and a community center in this in our community. Unbelievable, as is the board who works with you. They work very hard, and a lot of people don't realize that. And they're fantastic. And maybe there's one thing the library can do, but it may not be allowed in their charter because we are commercial businesses, but people do buy books for presents. And rather than going to the internet, the library have a list of the bookshops, people who sell books in town, because we sell books for the infant cloth books on up near 9 and 10-year-olds, and we have the local artists, local history books and some research, few little pocket books. And Canio's, I know, does secondhand books, and Bookhampton's there, and Taylor Berry's there, that if they can have a list, or if anybody to ever make a suggestion, if they're thinking, come to us. When
I can accept that. Yeah.
And buy the book to be sent, shop locally. The only solution for our small businesses is for people to shop locally. I think that pretty much covers it.
I think that's really excellent. Thank you very much, Nada. If anyone else has questions at this point, if you would like to raise your hand, there might be an icon on the bottom of your screen that allows you to raise your hand, or you can send in a chat. Let's see, I see Sharon Gray has a question. And you're muted right now. Let me just see if I can unmute you. Okay, Sharon.
Okay, so I really don't have a question. It's more of a shout out. You mentioned in your questioning ways that we could communicate with people more. And I would say write a letter, send a card, something personal, not the internet, not an email, not Zooming, something really that you can express yourself. And I know the Wharf Shop sells cards, so that's just a shout out.
Thank you. By the way, I can add to that, at the minute, Dee Dee has strung Mother's Day cards across our window so people could walk by and look at some of the ones that we have to offer. And that's the same with the trolley that we've had to change. We've put some Mother's Day gifts on that, and along with some games, not only puzzles at this point.
Very cool. Any other questions or comments? Seems like that might be it for now. Thank you so much, Nada. I really appreciate that you took your time for this.
Well, I'm glad to have been a help if it becomes a help, and so on, for the library's archives, which I so think what the library does is absolutely amazing. And your staff, the staff, Kathy Creedon, all of you, I just applaud you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us.